Prologue. Dust scented with iron. Silence in war is never real. It is a deception. It is a predator holding its breath moments before the pounce. Eleonora knew this better than anyone. She was 52, and she had spent the last 25 years viewing the world through the viewfinder of her camera. Her face, once soft and open, now resembled a map of the places she had been. Deep crevices around her eyes from constant squinting under the scorching Iraqi sun. A scar on her chin. A souvenir from shattered glass in Sarajevo. And the gaze of a person who has watched a soul leave a body and still managed to press the shutter button in time. She sat in the basement of a half-destroyed school. This was her point zero. A city whose name no one would remember in 10 years. But right now, it was the center of hell on earth. The walls vibrated. Somewhere above, a floor up, a heavy-caliber machine gun was working, rhythmically, like a sewing machine stitching a burial shroud. We need to move." A voice sounded from the darkness. It was Marco, her fixer. A young local boy. He still believed that luck was something one could control. 2 more minutes, Marco, she rasped. Her voice was gone, stolen by the dust. She was reviewing footage on the camera's small screen. The face of a woman clutching a charred doll. A surgeon's hands trembling after the 5th amputation in a row. These were powerful shots. Pulitzer-worthy shots. Shots she hated. Eleonora closed her eyes. And then the memories came. Not of the war, no. But of what the war had taken from her. Chapter 1. The Witness Syndrome. Memory is a strange thing. It doesn't keep everything. It works like a sadistic film editor, cutting out the most painful moments and splicing them into an endless loop. She remembered her first assignment. 2003. She was different then. She wore white shirts, smelled of expensive perfume, and believed that journalism could stop tanks. "You won't be able to stay just an observer, Nora," her husband at the time, Andrei, had told her. He was an architect. He built homes, while she traveled to places where they were being destroyed. "I have to, Andrei. Someone has to tell the truth." He left her 3 years later. Quietly, without a scandal. She simply returned from a trip to Afghanistan one day to find the closet empty. There was a note on the table. "I cannot compete with your dead. You love them more than the living." She didn't even cry then. She simply developed her film, wrote her article, and bought a ticket for the next flight. To Chechnya. Now sitting on a sandbag in this damp basement, Eleonora felt a phantom pain in her ring finger, where the band used to be. She had sold it in Beirut to pay the ransom for her driver. Back then, it seemed noble. Now, it felt like the price of her loneliness. War had become her marriage. A jealous, demanding husband who wouldn't let her out of his sight. It's starting. Marco's scream tore her from her thoughts. The sound changed. Instead of the sewing machine, a whistle cut the air. A heavy, low whistle that made the blood run cold. Artillery. Chapter 2. A symphony of concrete. They scrambled down the corridor. Glass crunched underfoot, mixed with the debris of someone's life, scattered notebooks, children's drawings, shards of plaster. Eleonora didn't run as fast as she did 20 years ago. Her knees ached, and the body armor with press emblazoned on it weighed on her shoulders like the sum of all her sins. An explosion erupted somewhere to the right. The shockwave shoved her against the wall. A metallic taste filled her mouth. She had bitten her tongue. "Are you okay?" Marco grabbed her by the elbow. "The camera." That was the first thing she said. She checked the lens. Intact. They burst into the inner courtyard. This place had once been a garden. Now, black skeletons of trees stuck out of the ground, looking like charred hands begging the sky for rain. But only ash fell from the sky. "We need to get to the greenhouse." Marco yelled over the din. "Evacuation point. There are wounded." Eleonora nodded. Instinct took over. Fear vanished, replaced by a cold, professional focus. She raised her camera. Click. A soldier applying a tourniquet to his leg. His eyes white with pain. Click. An old woman dragging a suitcase on wheels. Though the wheels had fallen off long ago. Click. Smoke billowing over the horizon, blotting out the sun. The sun looked sick here, a dull red, as if peering through bloody gauze. "Why am I here?" the thought flashed. It was a question she forbade herself to ask. She was here because she didn't know how to be anywhere else. In normal life, she felt lost. Standing in a supermarket, choosing yogurt, she would fall into a stupor. The silence of her apartment in Kiev or New York drove her mad. She needed the adrenaline to feel alive. What an irony! She needed death around her to feel the life inside her. Chapter 3: The Last Interview. They reached the greenhouse. It was a former administration building, now an improvised field hospital. The smell here hit you like a physical blow. A mixture of bleach, unwashed bodies, blood, and the sickly sweet scent of gangrene. Eleonora hit record. In the corner, on a dirty mattress, lay a young boy. Just a child. Maybe 19. Half his face was gone, but he was conscious. She moved closer. Dropped to her knees. "What is your name, son?" He tried to smile with the part of his lips that remained. "Alexa." "Alexa, I'm recording you. Do you want to say something? To your mom? Your girlfriend?" The boy looked at her, and in his eyes, she saw what she had seen 1,000 times. Not fear, but surprise. Surprise that it was all ending so quickly. "Tell them that I wasn't afraid. It's just cold. Very cold." Eleonora took off her jacket and covered him. She kept filming. Her hands didn't tremble. She was a professional. She was stealing his final moments to sell them on the evening news. "I am a vulture," she thought. "I feed on grief." But then Alexa grabbed her hand. Hard, painfully so. "Thank you," he whispered. "That I'm not alone." And his gaze froze. Eleonora turned off the camera. She sat beside him for another minute, feeling the warmth leave his palm. In that moment, she remembered her daughter, Masha. She had an abortion in 2008, before a trip to Georgia. Back then it seemed like a career decision. Now looking at the dead Alexa, she realized she hadn't just killed a child. She had killed her future. She remained alone in a room with the dead, and with every passing year, the room became smaller. Chapter 4: Full stop. The exit was blocked. The mortar fire intensified. The shells were landing in a grid pattern, tightening the noose. "Elle, come here." Marco was pulling her toward the stairs. They climbed to the second floor. There was no roof. Above their heads hung a gray, indifferent sky. Eleonora looked down at the street. A tank was crawling out from around the corner, turning its turret in their direction. The barrel looked like a black hole. She realized, this is it. There would be no evacuation. No plane home. No glass of wine in the hotel bar. Strangely, there was no fear. Only relief. She was tired of running. Tired of memorizing the names of the dead. She raised her camera. It was her shield. Her weapon. Her confession. She aimed the lens at the tank. Focus. Aperture. Exposure. The image was perfect. A composition of death. "Marco, run," she screamed, not taking her eye off the viewfinder. "I won't leave you. That's an order. Take the flash drive." She yanked the memory card from the camera slot and threw it to him. "Tell this story. Go." Marco hesitated for a second, then dove into a breach in the wall. Eleonora remained alone. She inserted a spare card. She aimed the camera at the tank, which had stopped to fire. She saw the muzzle flash. In this final instant, time stretched. She remembered the smell of rain in Kiev, the taste of her first kiss, her mother's warm hands, and the face of Alexa, who was no longer cold. She didn't close her eyes. She watched. "I am Eleonora Weiss. I am a war correspondent. And this is my final report." The flash consumed everything. First light, then sound, then darkness. Epilogue. The flash drive. The monitor in the news studio blinked. A young anchorwoman with perfect makeup adjusted her microphone. Her voice was practiced, professionally sad. "Today we received tragic news. Legendary war correspondent Eleonora Weiss was killed while fulfilling her editorial duty. Her materials were delivered to us just hours ago." The footage began to roll on the screen. Shaky, grainy, but incredibly alive. The surgeon's eyes. The woman with the doll. Alexa, saying he wasn't afraid. And the final shot. The barrel of a tank looking straight into the viewer's soul. And then static noise. In the comments under the YouTube video, people typed RIP and posted sad emojis. But in a small apartment on the outskirts of the city, a gray-haired architect named Andrei watched the video and wept. For the first time in 20 years, he knew that in that final frame, a fraction of a second before death, she had finally found what she had been searching for all her life: silence.
In memory of those who told the truth.